Well guys, welcome back to the trail. I've had to dub over this video because as I'm showing you this Coleman Cobra 2, my next door neighbour's dog decided to bark all the way through it. So I thought it'd be better if I just sit here and explain what you're watching. So this is the Coleman Cobra 2. It's my go-to backpacking tent. I've already camped in it once on the Gritstone Trail. I found it to be very comfortable, very easy to erect, and just all around good tent. I do like Coleman. Some of you might have seen my video of the Coleman Octagon 8, which is a fantastic car camping tent. If you haven't seen that, the video will be linked at the end. So right now I'm just putting this up obviously in my back garden, and these are aluminium poles. There are two sets of poles. The first one you saw was red, colour coded to match the outer skin of the tent, and this tent is an outer skin build first, so obviously this is perfect if it's raining. You're not getting the inner part of your tent wet. So right now it's the main aluminium pole for the middle. They're quite lightweight, these poles, but they are prone to snap over time, simply because the aluminium tends to weather and harden a little bit and become brittle. And as you can see, I have to put quite a bit of effort to get that bar to bend round to get into the eyelet. That's probably one of the only downsides to this tent I can think of. I can see that eventually giving way to me one day. Anyway, onto the red pole, which goes into the red colour coded sort of receiver at the bottom of the tent where my feet will go. And again, this one's a bit easier to get into the eyelet, but still requires a bit of tension. So there we go, there's two are up. So I'd go for the tent pegs now, rooting in my bag. These pegs that it came with were aluminium, but they were so small and sort of flimsy looking, I've replaced them with these shiny aluminium blue ones. I was going to go titanium, but the aluminium was cheaper for not much difference. So you can see I separate them now to the aluminium version that they came with, but I brought and replaced these with the blue ones with the cute little ropes for pulling them out of the ground. So the next step is to peg out the poles. There are eyelets at the end of each pole, and I usually make it a bit easier for myself by just pulling this guy line out, giving me a bit of tension there. I'll go to the other end and peg out the eyelets again with the guy ropes. And by the end of the video I will have decided, after putting it up and realising, that the inner can remain attached to the outer. You'll see why at the end, but for now you see me just put the outer up, and I've just pegged out the skin there. And there we go, we're putting one of the eyelets in. Now you can see some of the structure of the tent, and I think at this point we're going to change angle. Alright, so we're going to continue pegging out the tent. Again, we're going to do the eyelet at the end of this pole. The only downside I can find to those blue pegs is that they can be quite painful to push down on the top of. There's no real rounded edge like a normal tent peg. So you do have to either use the palm of your hand or your boot if you feel confident of the ground. One thing I did notice since the last time I used it, I didn't do anything with my guy ropes, and I'm now going to proceed to spend some time untangling them. It was a bit of poor discipline on my part. Usually I knot them up individually so they can be easy to get hold of. So unfortunately it's wrapped around this middle strap that runs between both ends of the poles that the inner is going to sit on top of. I'll play about with it for a bit. It's been a gorgeous weekend so far. All week we've been having sort of heat wave of 28, 29, even 30 degrees, and even now on a Friday it's still warm even now. So again, pegging out the skin so we can get a bit of tension. As this is the only, I think, my third time putting it up, apart from the first time when I bought it and the second time on the Gritstone Trail. I'm quite slow at it. I'm not quite familiar with the tent as I should be, so bear with me. I suppose after walking a long day I won't really be bothered how fast it takes. So now I'm going to go for the inner part of the tent, and this bit gets a bit tricky because I do have to clamber in and faff. We're going to engage in some faffery now to try and get the buckles in. There's sort of a buckle on the left and right centres, and then I've got to reach up and attach the fly net to the inner part of the outer skin. Alright, here comes the awkward bit. You get to look at my round ass. So another downside perhaps to this tent for some is that you do have to clamber inside. Well, like I said, by the end of this video I'm pretty confident that I can leave this inner attached to the outer and just bundle it up as one sort of collective unit. Well, I'm looking for words I can't even find now. So I just scrunch it all up into one ball basically. But at this point I've got to kind of spread out the inner part of the tent so I can get to it from the outside later. And there's two buckles that I mentioned before. Those get clipped into either end of the main pole to give it some stretch. And then with the fly there are sort of toggles, and they're again colour coded. So I lift up the toggle and attach it to a ring that's on the inner part of the outer skin. That's what I'm doing now, and that opens up the inner area for you. So I'll do that. There's 3 in the middle and then another 3 at the foot end, which I'll be bending round to do in a minute. I can tell you now it's getting a bit warm in there. The sun is shining. So yeah, there's a lot of faff. I couldn't really bring the camera in that area yet. It was a bit too soon, but you can get the idea. So again, as you can see better here, I reach under the outer skin and pull the inner part of the tent out. It's got elasticated loops at each end. And because I didn't bring a peg with me, I'm just going to steal this one. I could use the string, but for some reason I don't. And we're just going to go through the eyelet of the skin and the inner tent part. I'll just go and get a couple more pegs. Helps to have them in your pocket or something like that instead of walking back and forth. And again, tension on the outer skin. So again, at the foot end, I'm going to reach under, get the elasticated loop, and peg that through. Get some plenty of tension on that. And the camera has picked up the familiar sunspot, which you'll notice on most of my videos. One day I'll get around to a new camera. There we go. As you can see, it's quite difficult to get those pegs in, but there we go. And next is the climbing in. I find that's pretty straightforward. I'm not clambering in from one end. I can just put my knee down and sort of roll myself in, which I'm quite easy with. And as you'll see in a minute, in the next clip, there's plenty of room inside there as well. I'm going to have to faff with some toggles now, which I must have left as they were the last time I used it. Engaging in faffery, as per usual. So I'll shut the door, and at the top corner you'll see there's a nice viewing window with some mesh there. Hello! So here we go, we're inside the tent. Plenty of headroom. I'm actually a little bit nearer the bottom than I should be, so I'm going to shuffle myself up. Make the most of that in a second. There we go. And then you can see now at the foot end, even with my boots on, I'm not touching the inner part of the tent. I've got loads of leg room there. And then on either side you can see I've got luggage area on both sides. I've got plenty of elbow room. What more could you ask for? Well guys, there you go, that's the Coleman Cobra 2. It weighs just shy of 2 kilos, so it is a bit on the heavy side, but it's a rugged and effective tent, and I'm quite happy with it for now. I will be upgrading, but this was kind of a cheap entry level one at about £125. I'm 6'2", so you could see I had plenty of room. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video, hope it was helpful to you, and I will see you next time on the trail.